Welcome to the Torah Birthing Podcast. My name is Bitachon. I'm a Kala teacher and birth educator, and my mission is to help you have an awesome transition into motherhood so you could fulfill your tafkid with support and recognize the power that you have. The Torah is not just history. It's the guide for our lives, and it's a great way to work on mindset too. It's important to know, it's important to learn. Are you ready? Let's do this. You might think I'm naive, but I honestly love to see the good in people. And I know that there is evil in this world. I'm just not talking about that. I'm talking about everyday people, our fellow Jews, and others that we regularly interact with, good people. I try to go in with a positive viewpoint. We all care about and want what's good for each other, right? So this is why the Ami confuses me. I really don't read the Ami at all. But I know that a while back, people were talking about a certain home birth article. And I never really looked into it because it was never relevant. But now I've been hearing about it circling again. So I assumed that someone dug it up for some reason and gave it to an awesome home birth friend of mine as reading material. Turns out that there was a new article just written. And if you don't read the Ami and you don't know what I'm talking about, you might wonder, what's the issue with giving a home birth mother some reading material? It's very nice. Well, just reading the title gave me a cold, dreaded feeling of fear. The title of this article, Heartbreaking Home Births, Take 2. The author writes her article talking down to home birth mothers and saying that home birth is just plain dangerous and not worth it. And her tone is so condescending. Now, I know that it's not. I know that it's not dangerous. I could pull up the studies and talk about it. I could talk about the complications that the author mentions and talk about how they're managed at home. I'm also obsessed with listening to birth trauma stories, and I can share so many, as well as statistics of bad outcomes in hospitals. And many of these might not have actually happened at home. I'm not going to share them here, obviously, but I will say that I love hospital births. And I also say hire a doula. And also, I can outline the difference in simple terms between a doula and a midwife, while this writer assumes that they are the same thing. And unlike this writer, I know that home birth is not giving birth in Amish town after multiple C-sections and hoping everything's going to be okay. So if I can do all that, why am I so afraid? It's a really good question. And I thought a lot about it. It comes from a fundamental understanding of Yiddishkeit that too many of us carry, and unfortunately, I let it get to me this time and sometimes many other times. There are 3 parts to this misunderstanding, if I had to outline it. Number 1 is not understanding Emunah and Bitachon in Hashem. Number 2 is not understanding what a Rav is. And number 3 is not respecting our fellow Jewish women. So let's get into it. The article ends off saying that in the past, women did not know if they would come out of the birth alive or if their baby would come out alive. And now that's not really happening. So it questions why home birthers choose to go back to that time. Here's the problem. The death rates decreased due to the understanding of infections and also the discovery of antibiotics. It just happened to be at the same time as birth moved to the hospital. It is true. I agree with the author. The truth of the matter is that birth is really scary. But it's not just home birth. It's all birth that's really scary. It's not a walk in a park. A woman is a chola sheyesh basakana, considered sick with the potential of danger. And we do whatever a woman needs on Shabbos for this reason. We have all these modern developments that made birth safer and more comfortable for women, but sometimes we forget who was in charge of them and who allowed them to happen. Because it's not the doctors, it's not the hospital. It's the same one who spoke the world into existence, and Hashem has the keys in his hands. And in birth, you are literally in the best hands ever with him. So it's interesting to me that a researched and safe option, home birth, is so demonized. I would say here that we're in agreement about unassisted birth. Midwifery is a real art, science, and medicine here that's quoted in halacha when you have a qualified midwife. But when you're talking about home birth with a qualified midwife versus hospital birth, here's what happens when a baby doesn't make it, chas v'shalom. In the hospital, the doctors, they say, really, really tried. And Hashem just planned differently. You did everything you could. That's what people tell you. But if you give birth at home, they say, you should have been in the hospital. The doctors would have saved you. Hashem just flew out of the picture. Even though, statistically, most complications happen in the hospital due to interventions. But Hashem is the one in control. You do your hishtadlus according to the Torah, and a midwife is a legitimate part of that. And then you completely entrust yourself to Hashem. You learn about Emunah and Bitachon. I highly recommend it. Tomorrow is not guaranteed for anyone. And that's why we say Mode'ani. And in birth, it's so much more scary. In the hospital, the birth center, and at home. All the same. Another part of doing your hishtadlus is speaking to a Rav. And some families, especially husbands, got scared reading the original article, apparently. I completely understand. So they called their Rav, and their Rav gave them a personal psak that they should give birth in the hospital. And here's the thing about a Rav. A Rav has incredible siyata d'shmaya. This baby ended up having unforeseen complications, and the hospital, the doctors, were Hashem's shluchim to save him. And the Rav had given them that special prescription that they gained this beautiful bracha by asking him. The craziest stories and events happen by asking a Rav your shilos and issues and getting his psak. People say that it's your personal prescription, like a doctor, but honestly, it's better than that. The Rav's psak creates new realities. It is your personal thing, not for sharing. Now, to the wording of the words Rav's psak, it's normative hishtadlus to give birth in the hospital. Yep, most people give birth in the hospital. I don't know what it is exactly in our communities, the statistics. Maybe we should run a study. But the home birth rate in the States, in general, is about under 2%. I never recommend home birth to anyone. Unless it's something that you aren't sure if you want, then you could bet that I'll be there to help you make your best choice. So yeah, it's the normative hishtadlus. It's the normal thing that people do. But here's the thing. Normal isn't the only way to do hishtadlus. This author took a psak that's meant to be personal and tried to apply it to all of the readers, to everybody. You're only normal, you're only okay if you're giving birth in the hospital. And that's the way to do hishtadlus. That's her opinion. I love the saying that someone once told me, normal is a setting on a washing machine. Every one of us wants a healthy mother and a healthy baby. That's obvious. You don't have to convince anyone. Home birth is safe with a qualified midwife for low-risk women. It's not typical, but that's okay. You know what isn't okay? The judgment, the labeling, and the infantilizing. Maybe there is a reason why mothers choose to home birth. Maybe you should take a minute to understand. And it's not about being selfish and trying to avoid a C-section like this article tries to say. You're currently listening to someone who agonized for months about this choice, got judged, and had very little support. So take it from me. We really care about our lives and our babies' lives. I had a woman reach out to me having panic attacks at the thought of giving birth in the hospital. Tocophobia, or the fear of childbirth, is a real thing. And there isn't one solution for it, but it's something that should be looked into. And in her case, home birth was the thing that helped for her. We're talking about so much more than just our physical health. Although home births, as I said, do well for that too. We're not just pieces of meat. We have emotional and mental health too. And it's no less important. The judgment is really sad. Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students passed away during this time period, and we're still mourning it because of the lack of respect. So let's get rid of the judgment. Already, when I listen to any mainstream film podcast, I feel like a bit of an outsider. And maybe you do too. And this is why I'm working on a private podcast where we already have several incredible birth stories from incredible women who did their hishtadlus, just in an out-of-the-box way. I can't wait for you to hear these stories. I'm so excited. And check the link in the show notes to share your own story, because I'm always looking for more stories and to grow this amazing initiative. Whether you have a C-section or a home birth, Hashem loves each one of us. Mahu racham, af ata heye racham. Hashem is merciful, and we are supposed to emulate and be a reflection of him. Because, let's face it, the world is out to get us. They hate us. Let's stand together and respect each other. Let's listen to and understand each other. Just take a minute. Step back. So truly, the Torah perspective is that the best choices for you are the safe choices that allow you to have more children. Because I know women who can't have more kids because of an emotional situation due to birth trauma. Is it going to be with an epidural for you? Is it going to be at home with a skilled midwife? Anything in between. A C-section too. Hashem has a special plan for you in this tafkid of birth. Whatever it is, make sure that you invite him in and keep the Rav as your personal friend. If you're still looking for more support and you're not sure what choices to make, sometimes you just need to talk it out. I've been there. I've, Baruch Hashem, had the privilege and honor to help women talk through this decision as well. And some of them chose home birth, and some of them still went with the hospital. And it was great because each one felt confident and comfortable with the place of her choice. That is my goal for you. My consults are open. Invest in one. And we will get you feeling confident in your own personal birth choice. You deserve, and I wish you all the brachos in the world. Jewish women, we got this. Let's do this. I would love to hear what you think. Message me on Instagram at TorahBirthing or send me an email, torahbirthing@gmail.com.